Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you guys. I'll just reintroduce myself again. So I'm David Faulkner. I'm the Director of Data and Applications at Ceeus. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come speak to you guys today. So as your professor mentioned, we met at the STEM fair, and it was a really good opportunity. I think we have a chance to have a good partnership with your program. So um, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you a little bit about Ceeus and what we do, right? Some of that was covered in the intro, but a little bit of a recap couldn't hurt. So that's a picture of our facility. So I think the one that you had, Adam, was our Virginia location. So you got to see that building. This is a picture of our South Carolina, our West Columbia based location, which is right across the bridge, across from the airport. So some of the basics. First off, who we are. We are a wholesale electrical distributor. I'll get into a little bit more about that later in the presentation. What we do, in a nutshell, we provide products, value-added services, and safety testing. That's a pretty important piece as well for the electric cooperatives. And where do we operate? So we currently operate in South Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware. We have two facilities. So we have our primary headquarters here in South Carolina. And then, as Adam had a picture of, we have another facility almost as large in Virginia, and that particular facility is able to service Maryland and Delaware as well. So cooperative locations. So I will preface this by saying, can you tell them what a co-op? I'm about to. Yep, it's in another slide. Yep. So there is an importance of what a cooperative is. I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I did want to let you guys see just in a color variation, all the different locations that we serve. Each one of those different colors across Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware, as well as South Carolina, represent the individual territories of the cooperative that we serve. What is a cooperative? Great question. So a cooperative, I'll give you a little bit of a technical definition. It's an organization owned and operated by its members for their mutual benefit, following the principles of democracy, equality, and shared ownership. So I'll tell you that Ceeus is not the first cooperative that's ever existed. Cooperatives actually existed for quite a while. A lot of the origins can stem all the way to Old English society that kind of carried its way over to the United States. But at the end of the day, what a cooperative is, and I think you'll see the importance of this as I continue the presentation. The importance of a cooperative is that it is member owned by those who are served by the cooperative. So specifically, we're talking about electric cooperatives. So the closest one to USC would probably be Mid Carolina Electric Cooperative. So if any of you guys are familiar with the area or maybe even serviced by that, it is an electric cooperative that if you live in its serviceability area, which means you pay your electric bill to Mid Carolina, you are also technically an owner of Mid Carolina, partial owner. So you pay for the services, but you also have the ability and the options to serve on the board, to attend meetings, help define policies, to raise issues. If Mid Carolina has a very exceptional year, or any co-op has an exceptional year, and there's a lot of money floating around on the books, they'll actually cut you what's called a patronage dividend check and return monies back to its members. Okay. So there's a lot of power in a co-op because there's financial benefits and there's also other advantages. So they're guided by 7 principles. Most co-ops are. All the electric co-ops of SC as well as B&B are as well. So voluntary and open membership. Nobody forces you to be a part of the co-op, right? So if you want to be a part of the co-op, can. Democratic member control, which means that, again, the members all have a small ownership in the entire cooperative. Members' economic participation. If you are going to be a member, well, you have to contribute to it financially, right? You have to do so equitably. Autonomy and independence. So each cooperative is allowed to run autonomously of each other. But with that being said, they share education, training, and information. And the reason they do so is because cooperation among cooperatives is not just encouraged, it's almost mandated, right? It's very interesting. We have a lot of electric co-ops that are out there. You saw the map. There are a ton of them around the state of South Carolina. but they don't really compete with each other, right? So part of that you could argue is because, well, there's only certain areas of serviceability. So someone in Hilton Head can't compete with someone that services Columbia, right? That's true. But by the nature of all cooperatives, it is a founding principle that they share amongst each other's success, right? It's not like your typical business entities where they're fighting each other. This is one of the key concepts of cooperatives in general, and especially the electric cooperatives of South Carolina. So the fact that it is concerned for community, the electric cooperatives of South Carolina and really across all the United States really stemmed back from shortly after World War II. The New Deal was rolling out. There's a lot of money being invested in enhancing electrical grids. Where do you guys think most of that money was going to? Do you think it was going out to the rural areas, farmland, or do you think it was going and being invested into cities? Cities, right? That's where a lot of people wanted to live. The grid was starting to be established. So a lot of people were seeing electricity being developed and these highly urban areas, and agriculture was suffering because of it, right? Agriculture was suffering. People were giving up farming because they said, well, I could work the 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day in daylight, not have the hot water, not have a nice cold drink from the fridge, right? Or I could go work in a steel mill in the city and have a fridge and electricity and all those benefits, right? So people decided, okay, well, that's a problem. The government decided this problem. So I'm not going to get into all the political implications that came from that, but let's just say that the focus and a need was identified in the rural areas where electricity was really, really in short demand. And how did they solve it? They formed electric cooperatives. People within the community said, hey, we don't want to abandon this. We want the rural areas to thrive as well. We deserve electricity. So they came together as a community and formed some of the first electric cooperatives. And this happened all across the US. So they all invested a certain amount of money. They got the infrastructure and started building it out. And they formed electric cooperatives. And that really kind of saved agriculture and really the rural areas of America from getting left behind. So now there's something that comes from being a cooperative. And it's an advantage of being a cooperative. All right. One of the biggest advantages that I can tell you, and you would see this at Ceeus as well, is that we get to avoid the Friedman doctrine or shareholder primacy. Anyone tell me what that is? It's okay if you can't. You're not business majors, right? All right. So the Friedman doctrine or shareholder primacy, you guys see it every day. You see it when your gas prices go up. You see it whenever things get a little bit more inconvenient for you. It's the shareholder. What's best for the shareholder? People who have equity in the company, and if they raise prices or make a policy that hurts you but puts more money in their pocket, they benefit. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's the customer, right? We want low prices, excellent service. A lot of times, the things that we want as customers are not in the best interest of the shareholder because it's not going to help their bottom line, right? So the Friedman doctrine or the shareholder primacy is a fundamental theory, and it's how most businesses run, that they're going to do what's best for the shareholders, right? Because driving up the cost or reducing labor forces, but helping the bottom line, helping the shareholders get more money in their pocket, is typically to the advantage of the company. At least that's the mind frame they operate from. And that often comes at the expense of the customers. So at the end of the day, if you're the middleman in the company, you're not high enough to make those decisions, but you are important enough to affect the change they're asking, and they say, hey, we know this isn't best for the customer, shareholders want this. Well, who do you think normally wins out on that? Usually the person who's cutting you your check, right? The shareholders. So how does Ceeus, or really any cooperative, avoid this? It's in the unique nature and foundational difference of what a cooperative is. In a cooperative, like I just explained to you, your shareholders, your owners, are also your customers, right? Cooperatives are owned by the very people who they serve, right? It's member-based ownership. So what's good for one is good for all because they're one and the same. I think it's very important to understand, which is why I dove into the cooperative nature. One of the greatest things that you would see at Ceeus and experience is that because we don't have to deal with that Friedman doctrine, right? We get to bypass a ton of what I'll call a political red tape, right? We don't have to make bad business decisions to make shareholders happy, right? We get to move and pivot in an agile way with a good amount of freedom that makes sense for both our owners and our members, because again, it's the same people. So, and that stands through and shows in a lot of the things that we're trying to accomplish at Ceeus. So the electric co-ops understood this from the very beginnings of when they were founded, right? They've spread across. There's a massive organization, association of all the electric co-ops. And then they realized, hey, this is working. This is working pretty well, but how can we elevate? How can we take this to the next level? And that is where Ceeus, and really all of the other 8, there's 9 of us total, were formed. And we are, what I said earlier, a distributor.
Are there any such thing as a technology co-op where, like all these server farms that we all have to pay for, we create server farms instead and make them co-ops instead?
So there are actually co-ops that are technology focused in nature. New Horizon is actually a co-op in South Carolina that started to be focused on that kind of stuff. So there are, I don't know the specifics beyond that because it gets outside the electrical world, but there are co-ops of all kinds, right? So they're not just electric co-ops. Ceeus is very much so invested in that and from that that path, but there are cooperatives all across the world, and there's cooperatives all across the United States. So all of them should share the same benefits that I'm sharing with you today that we've seen in the electrical utility world. But what the electric co-ops realized they needed was what's right in the middle, Ceeus, a distributor. So they are the customers, suppliers, people they're getting their materials from. Typically, you would see it go from supplier to distributor to the customer. Now, if you're like me, the very first thing that I would think, if I knew nothing of cooperatives and didn't know the supply chain very well, I would say, well, it looks like you gave them telephone. Looks like, why do you got something in the middle? All right. It looks to me like if I just got it directly from the supplier, I would get it faster. Might even get it cheaper, right? Well, that might not be it's not necessarily an inaccurate statement, but you have to take into a couple of things in consideration. First off, as a customer, I'm not buying one product typically, right? As a customer, I'm buying multiple products from different people. That's a lot of touch points. That's a lot of price comparisons. And on the other side of the supply chain, well, as a supplier, I'm probably not selling to just one customer. I think I'm probably selling to a lot of customers. So you can see that in the absence of a distributor, this web of interactions, selling, buying, price bidding, trying to leverage supply, buy, and volume discount, none of that is an option, right? When you insert a distributor back into the middle, you gain all of these benefits. I'm not going to read through every single one of them, but I can give you the highlights, right? We as a distributor at Ceeus, we actually serve in the middle, so we benefit our members, which are the customer, but we also, as being part of the supply chain, benefit our suppliers, right? Sometimes it's hard to generate demand for your product. Sometimes it's a niche product. Well, if you partner with a distributor, we can find those customers for you because they're going to know exactly where to go to get that one part that no one else sells. We're also going to be able to share the product knowledge, right? Sometimes you have a new product and it's a game changer, but you don't necessarily know the best way to get the news out to people, right? Well, with product knowledge from a distributor, we know people who are buying similar products and replaceable products with your new product. We can help push that. So there's benefits on the supply side. From the customer side, well, the role of a distributor is simple. We're buying not just for one customer anymore. We're buying for all the electric co-ops of South Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland, and Delaware. So that's multiple states worth of electric utility pieces that we can purchase, which means we get higher volume, better discounts. It's also a one-stop shop. You can go to us and we have the knowledge of how to apply all of the materials you're buying and also things that maybe you don't know. Maybe you're starting to need something that you haven't needed before. We can tell you the pitfalls. We can tell you recommendations on products. We can help you. It's called kitting, right? You get this product, but by the way, since you never purchased this before, you also need these other 3 things to complement it, right? So there's a lot of things that you can leverage with a distributor involved. But I don't want to get too far into the theory of supply chain. that's just Ceeus, who we are. We are a distributor, right? So how does distribution impact you guys? Why am I talking to you today, right? So I'll tell you this much. It doesn't matter what business you're in, whether it's making shoes, distribution, real estate, every single type of business that you could think of is going to need what? Technology of some kind, right? Every single industry requires some form of technology. So I'm going to talk to you about the kind of technology we have at Ceeus and where we could see the partnership with you guys coming into play. I'm first going to start by outlining something that is very unique to Ceeus. It's not only Ceeus, but it is a little bit unique because you won't find this in a lot of other places. So as you were researching, Adam, on our site, did you see a whole lot of mention of IT or information technology in general? A little bit, right? But you probably saw business systems, I imagine, right? So business systems is a fundamental mentality shift that encompasses IT, information technology. But one of the benefits of seeing that at Ceeus is that your typical IT is one branch of the overall department business systems, which is what Ed and I represent. And it has your typical IT, your infrastructure, your servers, your cybersecurity. But that is not the overall encompassing umbrella. It's one team amongst three. The other side is what Ed represents, which is the project management, continuous improvement, documentation, digital experience, right? Industrial engineering. And then, of course, you have what I'm here to talk today about, which is the data and application side, which in my opinion is probably most applicable to your skill set that you guys have been learning in this program. But what I would like to say is that the uniqueness that Ceeus has with having business systems be the top level in IT, a subsection of that, is that, and I've worked at several companies. I think Adam mentioned Prismian Group is the world's largest cable manufacturer, international, huge company, right? Over 30,000 employees in over 50-something countries. So a lot of structure in place there. And they have just an IT department, right? Everything follows on the umbrella of IT. And they had a lot of the same pitfalls that a lot of big companies do, which is, hey, you have someone who is brilliant. You give them technical specification, talk to them briefly and say, this is what I want it to do. They disappear behind the curtain for 2-3 weeks, couple sprint cycles, and then they have a deliverable for you. And when you review it with the customer, every button click works, all the functionality that the developer said, hey, this is going to be spot on. It exactly is. But then when the end user gets it and sees it, a lot of times they say, man, what is this? This isn't what I wanted at all, right? It's what they asked for, but it's not what they wanted. And it's because you have someone with very technical skills, engineering, trying to solve a business process issue. And if you don't understand the business and have the business process knowledge, you won't know if you're really trending on target or not, right? You have to take your word from the end user. I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of an IT secret if you haven't learned already. End users often know what they want. They don't really know what they want a lot of times. Sometimes you have to play the role of a psychiatrist, right? You have to have that business knowledge and understanding the processes to really ask the questions to kind of get out of your end users what it is that they really need. Because sometimes they're going to send you down a rabbit hole, and that's not where the journey needs to end, right? So business systems at Ceeus and in some other companies who have adopted that mentality, we are all highly trained and very deep rooted in business itself, how a business runs, from accounting to the warehouse operations, purchasing and inventory management. We get deep fundamental knowledge of all of these areas. And we just so happen to have all of the technical skills needed to implement these IT solutions. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the technologies that the data and apps team specifically uses. So there is a broader usage of technology at Ceeus, but just in my team alone, you can see that you will have exposure probably to a lot of what you guys have already started doing here in your undergraduate studies. So we use several coding languages, right? So we use some of the older ones. We use C#, .NET Core for API development. We have a surprising amount of people who really like Python on the team. So if you like Python, we use that too. So
We teach Java and Python here and HTML.
Java, okay, yep, Java and Python. We use some of the more niche case stuff, right? So I wouldn't expect any of you guys to know what OpenEdge AVL is, or maybe even know from the data side what Progress is. It's a little bit dated. So, but we use a lot of different languages for our data. We're typically right now using Azure SQL database, which is a little bit more just straight replication from our ERP system. That ERP is being migrated. The back end of our ERP is Progress. It's going to be migrated to Postgres soon. So Postgres is upcoming on deck for us and the technology associated with that. We also currently use Data Fabric and Data Lake, which is hosted by AWS services. That's also who hosts our ERP system. For reporting, right now, I'm not fully committed to it, but we use a lot of Power BI for our visualizations. Of course, you're going to have a lot of end users who just want data dumped in Excel. So we do that, some Power Query into Excel. A lot of paginated reports because they don't want an Excel. Maybe they just want to be able to go still see a data dump, but not in Excel. We do some Compass queries against the data lake. And then as far as development tools, we do some custom ERP integrations. We're able to use JavaScript and inject new modules and add new core functionality into our ERP system, which is pretty neat. And then, we use Power Automate for automation, the Visual Studio Suite. We use that for a lot of things, our .NET programming, some small offline applications. And then, of course, we use Git for source control, source code control, ChatGPT. Sure, maybe, hopefully, some of you guys had some exposure to that. Some people are on either side of the fence, think it's evil and terrible, and it's Skynet. Some people have overdependence on it. At Ceeus, we just leverage it where we can in a way that, I guess, complements our developer skills, not replace them, right? We also are in the practice of training our ChatGPTs, feeding it Infor technical specifications and documentation to help finding things like API calls a little faster, right? So if you leverage it properly, it can be a really, really good complement. And then SSMS, that's just a Microsoft-specific tool for accessing our Azure SQL database. So these are some of the technologies that we use at Ceeus. Again, this isn't all-encompassing, but it's a pretty good list, kind of broken out by category. So type of technology positions. So before I start putting stuff on the slide, just to give you a quick indication of how fast we're growing at Ceeus. In 2020, I believe, we had shy of 50 employees. In 2025, we are sitting, Ed, keep me honest, maybe 120, right? So we're slightly north of 120 employees. That is a huge amount of employee growth in the last 5 years. And that trend is just continuing to increase, not slow. So some of the common positions that I have on my team right now is data engineer. We also have business application specialists. So that one is still technical, not necessarily a developer role, but it's someone who understands the systems, what they can do. They can do regression testing whenever any updates are made. We also have, that's a funny title, isn't it? Proto developer. I don't know if you'll see that anywhere. We helped let him pick what he wanted for his title because we wanted to encapsulate what he does. But one particular person on our team, he has right here, this proto developer. He is someone that is very brilliant, very capable, very hungry, and loves playing with leading edges of technology. And there's times where we don't need a permanent solution. Sometimes we just need something to get us by, right? How are we going to make it until we get this new system in place a year from now? We just need a 1 to 2 month solution, right? That's where our proto developer comes in. You give that man a whiteboard in about 30 minutes, and you're going to have more ideas than you could possibly consume and process thrown at you. And that is exactly what he does. He is someone who can just go out there, figure out what's possible, and start coming back to you. Out of 100 ideas, he can whittle that down to the best 2 or 3, and then we hit the ground running. All right. So, upcoming position. So, just in this new fiscal year alone, probably Q1 of 2026, I'll be posting a Microsoft platform developer position. So that'll be very Power BI, Power Automate heavy. And I'm also going to be posting a business application developer position. So someone who can do some in-house application development, some more ERP customizations, who can help assist with the integration of the new systems we're bringing online. And then, of course, what I'm here to talk to you about today, which is our intern position. So our intern positions, at any given time at Ceeus, we typically have up to 6 positions available. And that's not across the company, that's just within business systems, right? There are other areas, but within business systems, we typically offer at any given time at least 6 intern positions. A lot of times we carry them, they're usually in the summer, right? That's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a great time, especially if you're willing to do that during the summer. Specifically for the data and app side, if you have the availability to commit enough meaningful hours, we have availability for fall and spring as well. But of course, the summer is always an option. But it is a good opportunity because, again, there's no shortage of work and experience that you guys can get on the data and application side at Ceeus. So, examples of previous intern work. I'll read through some of these, but as you're reading them yourselves, I would like to call out something that I think is pretty good differentiator between us and maybe some other future opportunities that you have. I don't think it's an overstatement to say that some of the most important processes, really to any business, but to Ceeus, has been given at times to the hands of our interns and our cooperative students. They have been given very important and meaningful work. You don't just get put behind the curtain and fed junk food and soda and hopefully you meet your quota for the day, all right? So some of the examples of what we've asked our interns to do, and I'll call some of them out. Transition to paperless accounts payable. That doesn't sound like that's too bad, right? If you knew how many forests have suffered at the hands of manual paper and accounting, in general across the world, but definitely at Ceeus, it'd be shocking, right? You could fill the room with the amount of paper we were able to remove by switching to a paperless accounts payable system, and that whole process was driven by interns. Actually, just in the middle of 2024, when we moved from our old headquarters to our new headquarters, we had to move the inventory, right? So we had an intern come up and design a way, both in the system and with people scheduling, how do you move $40 million of inventory assets without disrupting a business a mile down the road? That was given into the hands of an intern to come up with that process. So it doesn't seem like that's too insignificant. Setting up new general ledger chart of account. I don't know how much you guys have had to touch in your undergraduate or how much you will touch any kind of accounting or finance 101, but does anyone know what your general ledger is?
They've all been through accounting, they should know.
Someone should know. It's okay. It's okay. I'll tell you the answer. I'm sure some of you guys look like you want to raise your hand, but that's okay. So your general ledger, your chart of accounts, is the structure of where your monies are interchanging, right? So whenever you sell something, buy something, pay out dividends, all that has to be tracked. Just imagine when your parents were teaching you, which I hope they taught you, how to balance your checkbook, right? Your checkbook. It's like balancing your checkbook, but on steroids. It's all of your accounts, all of your assets, your inventory, all of that tracked to the cent with every transaction that you do and conduct as a business. It's basically your book of business. So we gave into the hands of our interns. Actually, this one was specifically an intern. It was not an accounting major, by the way. He was learning on the fly. He's very, very smart and very quick. He was able to take from our old system, our old ERP, and then create a new, better GL structure in the new system and set that up, which would enable us to do roll-up and aggregated reporting in future state. And that was a pretty big deal. So, and it served us pretty well so far. We've been on the system here in 2025, and it's going pretty well. We've also done other things. We've had them develop daily operations that go to VPs and management within the company. We've also had people develop automation jobs, provide system training. right? There are people who've been with the company 15, 20, even 40 years, with pretty long tenure with the company. But when we transition to a new system, we had interns come in. They learned the system so quickly, both the old and the new, and they were able to train other people how to do their existing function in the new system. So that's also been some of the assignments that have been given out. And then creating standard operating procedures, which is really the documentation of the processes. So I could tell you a whole bunch of different kind of works that they've done. I'll go ahead and tell you some upcoming projects. And this is where I think that we really could use a lot of help. So if any of what I'm about to tell you sounds interesting and get nothing else out of today, other than the importance of cooperative, don't underestimate that, is that we do have some pretty exciting things that we're going to be doing. So here in this upcoming year, we're going to be building a brand new data warehouse. We're going to be rolling out and basically enforcing a new data governance policy, which is going to require a deep dive and some data cleansing. We also are going to be looking on bringing on and implementing a warehouse management system. So that's a whole new system we don't have in place today that we want to bring online. And that will actually probably give Ceeus its greatest operational efficiency gain, probably in the 51-year history of Ceeus. So those are some of the major projects that we have. And all of them will touch on the technologies and the skill sets that I've highlighted in this presentation, and also that you guys are learning in your undergrad program now. So, but as much as I can talk, I want to go ahead and show you what some of our previous interns have had to say about Ceeus. So,
Well, I'm the director of business transformation. Started by Ceeus. Part of my responsibility is workforce development and workforce education. The internship program has multiple benefits for the organization as well as for participants. It's intended to be integrated in summer, at least a 12-month experience for the unique opportunity to see real world firsthand what it's like to be in the business world, where you do have purposeful, meaningful, and worthwhile work. It's a positive experience. It's a positive experience. It's a positive work culture. I have fun, get paid for it.
I think what surprised me the most is how nice and welcoming everyone is. More specifically into the business systems and continuous improvement is the collaboration. I came in thinking it was gonna be more individual, like you have your own projects and you kind of like put your head down, focus on that, but it's a lot of meetings and you're talking with people, you're trying to spread the information you know so that as a team you can make the best decision moving forward for the company. And it's been a really great experience to be able to collaborate with all these professionals in different industries, and they respect your opinion and want to do what you have to say. And they're very great about questions. I came in at first, I was really scared to ask questions because I was an intern. I didn't know that like that was okay. But now, just yesterday, I was in a meeting and I was asking questions, and the VP of operations was in there, and he was more than happy to answer those questions for me. And so I really like the atmosphere of welcoming, ask the questions if someone else might have them, and it's just a great learning environment.
Just has the best work culture that I've ever worked in across all the jobs I've worked in. The people that work here, they're so down to earth, and they are always looking to help you and help you grow with whatever your endeavors are. There's so many professionals here that have so many different backgrounds. Not only are you meeting really important people that are like good connections to have, but also if you're doing work that has a lot of value, brings a lot of value to the company. This is one of the most welcome environments. And one way I like my work with the community. I have something special that anything to do with co-op. I've been sort of cut off from the group that sort of only doing some light tasks that really add all that much. Experience. You all really open the community construction, sort of really big projects that we all collaborate and work on. It's been really eye-opening as to what it's been looking like.
I would recommend this internship to other students because when I'm here for the summer, I'm not treated as an intern, I'm treated as an employee at Ceeus. And that's really important, and it's been amazing. We have a great support team, and we even have mentors. And so not only do we have a great supervisor, Ed, who's there for us the whole step of the way, but I also have my own personal mentor. And so not just personal, but professional growth as well is really supported and encouraged.
Not only have I gotten a great insight into how the industry works, but I've gotten a lot of professional advice as well. All the things that I learned here aren't just specific to the industry, but they're gonna serve you well, no matter where I work.
I've learned a lot from this is, in the Ceeus I marketing with, at the beginning.
At Ceeus, we're proud to invest in the next generation, and if you're ready to join a team that's passionate about powering our communities, join us.
All right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. That was just a little bit of information from some of the previous interns that we've had recently. I will apologize to you guys. I forgot to give you a disclaimer that there was potentially highly offensive branding and very hard on the eyes colors in that video. And I want you to know that at Ceeus, we do not discriminate against people's choices in higher education. So, you know, I forgot to give you the disclaimer. So my apologies. So go Carolina, go Cox. All right, Q&A. Does anyone have questions? Not all at once. Yes.
I guess just, I know you guys, I guess don't want to hire a whole lot of person department. Very frequently, like you hire those interns that you like full-time employees when you graduate, or like you have interns that will like return like next.
Great question. So just to give you a little bit of, so A, I can't make any promises. I don't have a crystal ball, right? But that is a very good question. So to give you an answer, the one who did our general ledger chart of accounts had been with us for an entire year as an intern and did such an amazing job. He's now full-time with us, right? Another one, the one who did the warehouse move, moving $40 million worth of inventory. He did internships on and off as school allowed for about 3 years. And he's also now full-time with us. So he was allowed to return because he did good work. He did such good work that when he was about to graduate, I was like, nope, I need him. So boom, position created. So Ceeus rewards great work. That's how I can summarize that best.
David and I are the one that we also have supply chain concerns and members that have been hired not only in South Carolina market, but also market. It's easy to focus on the headquarters because that's where we work daily, but we also have opportunities.
Yep.
And you brought up that there was 3 categories of technology, but you're only focusing on the center, the middle one at this time? Or are there opportunities for the other 2 as well?
I will say that there is ample opportunity on Ed's side, which was the project management, industrial engineering, process improvement, transformation. There is absolutely a lot of opportunity on that side. And then there's definitely a lot of opportunity on my side. My presentation selfishly was geared towards my team, but there's definitely ample opportunities between our 2. The one, to be completely honest, with the least, I don't want to say no opportunity, but least opportunity would be our infrastructure side. So that's probably where the least amount of opportunity would be. So if you're looking at hardware infrastructure side, can't say that I can get you a whole lot of exposure to that, but I can't say that you wouldn't get any exposure to that. So depends on how willing our peer is to like dabble or dive into that.
And
So
the opportunity for meeting work too. That's something.
Yes.
We don't want to just host you just to be hosting. We'll take great care of you. But we want you to have something that you can talk about. Both campus and.
yes,
Another thing that it's not as easy to find them. I think that I'm also adjunct faculty in our school. Students as well. So the concept of having something that you can do that is purposeful, worthwhile, very important. It's also important to see us. And you will be well taken. Depending upon your ability to stay attention, whether it's the spring, summer, fall, short that you have with us, experience might be a little different. Typically, we're able to do a little bit more in the summer because we have more people. We do have 3 co-op students that are coming for the spring semester, and one of those is very cool. I'm talking. We've got kind of questions.
yes.
Is there much opportunity for movement between the departments or sub-departments? Like if you start in like a more technical role, is there an opportunity So it's like project management or vice versa.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. So at Ceeus, we believe that it's very important that people are on the right bus, right? So as long as you're on the right bus, it's okay if you might not necessarily be in the right seat, or if you get uncomfortable in your seat and you want to maybe transition. If you have our cultural values and want to be on the same journey we're going on and on the right bus, we're okay with people moving seats. So we've had people move from inventory management into supplier relations. We've had people move from, inventory management into sales. They want to just completely switch it up and they want to be the ones that are stuck, right? Actually the proto developer I was telling you about, he came from inventory management into business systems and then came into a highly technical role, and he didn't have the skill sets. He just had the hunger and it's very intelligent. So he just picked it up really quickly, right? So we definitely allow movement within the company, for sure. Yeah. And you had a question, Bill?
So how do we apply about?
So applications are open today. I completely forgot to put a giant QR code up there that you could have just taken your phone and scanned, and we're taking it right there. It's really cool. We have some really cool fidget spinners that have QR code. Didn't bring those, so I failed you on that today. So my apologies. You can go to just Ceeus, I believe Ceeus.com, and if you go to Ceeus.com, click on careers, and there will be a link that can show you, and I think it's listed as business systems intern, right? I believe. So you could definitely click that. If it helps, I can email, I can have an email, I can send an email that can be forwarded to you guys that will have a direct link to it as well. So my apologies. I knew someone was gonna call me out on it. That's my fault. That's a missed opportunity. So here's something that they don't tell you. Well, maybe actually, I think you are being told this, which is great because I was not told this. In IT, a lot of people think I'm going to be the Wizard of Oz. I'm going to be the man or woman behind the curtain. And that's okay. I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to go talk in front of people. I'm standing here in front of you today as a living example. That is not always the case, right? So polish your people skills because it'll serve you well in your IT career. So, any other questions?
Well, thank you, gentlemen.